Hola, muy buenos días para todos y bienvenidos a nuestra sesión de información con Parkland College. Es un gusto tenerlos aquí. Mi nombre es David Arango y soy el director regional de ventas para MSM en Latinoamérica. Hoy tenemos un panel maravilloso. Nos acompaña mi colega Dayana Hurtado, nuestra Country Manager en Perú. Hola Dayana, buenos días. Nos acompaña también Ann Olafson desde Parkland College en la ciudad de Yorkton, en la provincia de Saskatchewan. Hi, Ann. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Pleasure for you to be here. Así que bienvenidos nuevamente a esta sesión. Les recuerdo que si tienen alguna pregunta la pueden dejar en el botón de Q&A que está ubicado en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Las preguntas las vamos a resolver al final de la sesión. A continuación ya paso el micrófono a Ann, quien nos va a hacer esta presentación. Así que tomen nota de toda la información que Ann nos va a presentar, de todos los puntos súper importantes. Si quieren hacer una pregunta directamente en inglés a Ann y aprovechar para practicar, lo pueden hacer. Si quieren hacer sus preguntas en español, también lo pueden hacer. Dayana y yo estamos aquí para ayudarles a traducir si fuera necesario. Así que nuevamente bienvenidos. Muchísimas gracias por estar aquí, por tomarse el tiempo para descubrir un poco más sobre Parkland College y sobre esta provincia no tradicional, que es una de las provincias más importantes en Canadá, con una de las mejores economías y que definitivamente es una opción distinta, novedosa y muy interesante para sus estudiantes, y ya vamos a descubrir un poco más de las razones para yo afirmar eso. Así que nuevamente bienvenidos a esta sesión sobre Parkland College. Anne, thank you so much again, and you can take it from here.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm just going to start with sharing my screen here. And make sure that everybody can see that.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So again, hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here today. And I wanted to thank the MSM team for inviting me to be here to be able to speak with you this morning, or yes, it is this morning for you as well, I believe, right? Yeah, that's good.
Yes,
so my name is Ann Olufsen, and I have worked in student recruitment and admissions at Parkland College for almost 3 years now. And I realized that this past year and a little bit has been so challenging, and it's been so strange, and there's been so many different things coming up. And so I'm just really happy to be here to be able to talk to you about the programs that we offer at Parkland College. And hopefully you'll have some students that are interested in coming to Yorkton, Saskatchewan, Canada. All right, so first we'll just start off talking a little bit about Canada. So here's an overview. You can see that Saskatchewan is in central Canada, right between Alberta and Manitoba. And Yorkton is that white dot just on the east side of the province by the Manitoba border. And that is where our Parkland College main campuses are located. And that is where all of our international students study. So just a few facts about Saskatchewan. So we do have the most hours of sunshine per year in Canada. So every season we do have sunshine. Saskatchewan has the lowest unemployment rate in the country at 6.8% this past year in 2020, and the national average is 9%. Our population estimate is just over 1 million. That was in 2019. And Saskatchewan ranks top for the largest agricultural production in all of Canada. And it's also ranked best place in the world to invest in mining. Saskatchewan has other natural resources as well, like oil, uranium, potassium, diamond mining, and of course, agricultural productions. And then we also do have the permanent residency possibility in Saskatchewan with the SINP program. So a few facts about a little bit more about the weather. I know that sometimes students or agents can get a little bit concerned about the weather. So we do have 4 distinct seasons. In summer, our temperatures range from, about the 20 to 25 degrees Celsius and can reach even above 30 degrees. So very nice summer months. In the winter, it does get a bit colder. So the daily temperatures are usually between -5 to -15 on average, but it can, of course, get, a little bit more cold and, sometimes does reach that -30 occasionally. But one thing to keep in mind about winter is that it's normal for us. We live in it. Our houses, cars, transportation, clothing, and buildings are all built for the cold weather. So it's all just about preparation. And just like in the summer months, you need air conditioning. In the winter, you need heat for the buildings and to dress appropriately, right? So we have a session included in our international orientation that goes through winter preparation and safety to make sure that students are prepared for some of those conditions. And especially for our students that did just arrive in January or that are continuing to arrive now, it was really important for them to be prepared because they were arriving in the winter months. When our students do arrive in the fall of September, they have a little bit of time to adjust and to buy some of those winter clothing and to find out what they need for those winter months as well. So it gives them a little bit more time to prepare. Okay, so here's an overview of the family incomes across the country. And one thing to note here is that Saskatchewan has one of the highest average family incomes, and it's also one of the provinces with the lowest cost of living. So the cost of living actually is even less in the smaller communities. So that's another perk of attending Parkland College. Yorkton is it's a city, but it is one of the smaller cities. And we do also have a lot of communities in the Parkland region that are smaller even still. And so again, the cost of living goes down out there. And there are also job opportunities in the whole region that students can apply to. So just again, one thing to note, high earning potential in Saskatchewan and low cost of living. So something to keep in mind. So Yorkton is part of the Parkland region in Saskatchewan. So here's a close-up map of Saskatchewan. The two largest cities in Saskatchewan are Saskatoon and Regina. Regina is about 2 hours away by road from Yorkton, and Saskatoon is 3.5 hours about by road to Yorkton. And those are the two locations that we have airports. So that's where our students would be flying into. And normally we would recommend that the students fly into Regina because it is much closer. But now it's actually mandatory that our students fly into Regina because of the COVID-19 quarantine plan. So really important to make sure that when students are making their plans to fly into Regina, because that's where our quarantine plan is located and it's also closer. So it is a bit of a benefit there. So again, just a little bit about the two largest cities in the province. So Regina is the capital of Saskatchewan and has a population of about 235,000 people. And again, about 2 hours by road. And Saskatoon is the largest city. And it's also called the Bridge City and has an estimated population of around 300,000 people. And just 2 hours and 3.5 hours away, it's nice to know that they're close enough that if students did want to do a little road trip to one of the larger cities, that's still absolutely possible to do either in a day trip or during the weekend if they wanted to do that. Again, when within the COVID restrictions in place, obviously. And we're hoping that those will be better in the years to come. So Parkland region. So we do have provincial parks located in the Parkland region. And so there's lots of opportunities to explore the areas. So there's boating, fishing, hiking, and golfing in all of those areas. And then in the winter months, although we don't have any mountains, it doesn't mean that we're completely flat. So we do have hills and valleys, which allow for skiing and snowboarding in the winter. So here's just a couple of examples of the hills that we have close to Yorkton, Saskatchewan. And again, just because it is a little bit cooler in the winter, it doesn't mean that there aren't some fun activities to try. So here's a couple of pictures of Yorkton. So Yorkton is the 6th largest city in the province, and the community is approximately 20,000 people. And so Parkland College, we were established in 1973, and we were the first regional college in Saskatchewan. We are public funded and accredited by the government of Saskatchewan. And this is a photo of our main campus where our business and healthcare programs are held. So this is our Trades and Technology Center campus. This is our second campus in Yorkton, Saskatchewan. And this is where our trades programs are located. It's also our newest campus. It was just built in 2015. And so this is where our trades programs and power engineering programs are held. So over the past 8 years, we've welcomed students from all over the world, from India, Nigeria, Jamaica, Philippines, Vietnam, Bangladesh, Nepal, and the Ukraine. And so some advantages of Parkland College. And so one of the biggest things is the high quality education recognized by Canadian employers. There's enhanced learning opportunities and industry connections, small class sizes. Our classes range from about 12 to 35 students. There's a friendly and relaxed atmosphere that comes along with having smaller class sizes where you really get to know your other classmates and the instructors and program coordinators, the whole team that's involved with your class. So again, personalized one-on-one support services. We have international counselors available to help our students. There are some scholarship opportunities as well, and I'll talk about those a little bit later in the presentation. And then you get to experience the real heart of Canadian culture when you are coming out to Saskatchewan here. So Parkland College is a member of the Colleges and Institutes Canada. And just a little note about some of the international development projects that Parkland College has been involved in as well. All right, so now we'll jump into the programs available for international students at Parkland College. So here's a list of the international programs. They range from business to healthcare, trades, and then we do have some university options as well. They're split up into two different categories. We're going to do the skills training programs and then universities separate. So the application process is just slightly different. And so I find that it's easier to just talk about them separately here. So we'll start with the skills training programs. Right, so Global Business Management. This is our postgraduate certificate. It's 1 year and it has 2 semesters. And the program is designed to prepare students to work in all areas of business and international trade. The admission requirements are a 2-year college diploma or a bachelor's 3 or 4-year degree in any field, but with a minimum overall average of 55 in academics. And the IELTS requirement is an overall score of 6.5 with no band less than 6. Okay, and then graduates are prepared at the end of this program for entry to mid-level business management positions. So business diplomas, this is a 2-year program, 4 semesters. So in the first year, it'll focus on the core concepts of business, including accounting, economics, marketing, human resources, and more. The second year will be more specifically related to management strategies. Okay, so the admission requirements for this program is a grade 12 with a minimum overall of 55%. And the IELTS requirement is an overall score of 6.5 with no band less than 5. And so for all of our certificate and this diploma program, moving forward, the IELTS requirement is the same. So it's an overall score of 6.5 with no band less than 5. The only different requirement is for our postgraduate certificate. Okay, so that is the only one that is at with the band no less than 6. And so career opportunities for this program, administrative coordinator, administrator, financial officer, sales representative, those types of jobs. Office administration is a 1-year certificate, and administrative professionals handle the day-to-day office administration for individuals, networks, or teams. And just a note about this one, so career opportunities, administrative assistants, support persons, receptionists. This is the requirement that our Saskatchewan Health Authority requires to be able to work in an office environment in healthcare. And so if a student is interested in healthcare, but isn't necessarily interested in the medical side of it, or becoming a nurse or a doctor, this is a way for them to get into the healthcare industry, but in the administrative role. So the admission requirements for this program are grade 12 with a minimum overall of 55%. And the IELTS requirement, again, is overall 6.5 with no band less than 5. So continuing care assistant, this is a 1-year program, and this is our healthcare program. Students are prepared to work with disabled, recovering, chronically and terminally ill people, and providing assistance with essential activities of daily living. So the career opportunities for graduates can work in home care settings, special care facilities like nursing homes, hospitals, or integrated facilities. And a note about this program as well, the Saskatchewan government has committed to hiring 300 continuing care assistants in the province in the next 2 years. So there's going to be lots of job opportunities coming for this program, and they are also in high demand right now. And so it's just going to grow. And a note, I mentioned briefly about the rural communities, the small communities surrounding Yorkton. Each one of those communities has a nursing home or a home care setting or hospital. And all of those places need continuing care assistance, or the facilities will be shut down. And so it's really important to the communities and to the region to be able to have these skilled workers coming into these communities and providing the service and having that skilled worker in those facilities. So just to note that very high demand and more jobs coming for this program here. And so the admission requirement is a grade 12 with a minimum overall of 55%. And the IELTS requirement, there's an overall score of 6.5 with no band less than 5. So now we'll move into our trades programs. Our heavy equipment truck and transport technician program is a 1-year certificate. And heavy duty equipment technicians work on large mobile equipment like bulldozers or cranes, graders, loaders, things like that. And truck and transport mechanics work on trucks, buses, and highway transport vehicles. And so this program kind of combines two programs in one, where you get the heavy equipment and also the transport vehicles. So the admission requirements here are grade 11 with a minimum overall of 55%. And then the IELTS requirement is the same at 6.5 with no band less than 5. And you must be 18 years of age before the start date of the program in order to be eligible. Agricultural equipment technician. So again, another 1-year certificate. And so students will learn the skills to assemble, repair, service, and maintain all types of agricultural equipment. So the admission requirement here is a grade 10 with a minimum overall 55%. The IELTS requirement is overall score of 6.5 with no band less than 5. And again, must be at least 18 years of age before the start date of the program. And again, just a note about this program and in the heavy equipment truck and transport technician, with the agricultural industry as strong as it is in Saskatchewan, this is another, or these are another area that is very good for finding jobs. There's a lot of farmers, there's a lot of dealerships, there's a lot of opportunity in these industries. So the automotive service technician, so this is another mechanical course based more on everyday cars that we use, so cars and trucks, things like that. And students will gain the skills to assemble, repair, service, and maintain those types of vehicles. The admission requirements here are grade 12 with a minimum overall 55%. And the IELTS requirement is the same at 6.5 with no band less than 5. So our power engineering 4th class program, this is again a 1-year certificate, 2-year semesters, and students receive practical training in boiler operations, maintenance techniques, and tool use. They'll develop troubleshooting skills in the practical labs that we do have on site on campus. So that's one of the huge benefits, is that they get a lot of hands-on time because the lab is on our campus and available whenever we need to in the class. So the admission requirements here are grade 12 with a minimum overall of 65%. So this one is a little bit higher admission requirement. And we do also require a grade 12 math. Okay, so the IELTS requirement here is an overall score of 6.5 with no band less than 5. So the tuition fees when they're listed in our program guide are all inclusive. And so that means it has the tuition, it has the books, materials, fees, everything included so that the students don't have any surprises when they come here. And so our business and healthcare programs range from 15,500 to approximately 18,500 Canadian, and that is annually. So that is for the 1 year tuition, materials, books, and fees. And our trades programs range from about 20,000 to around 24,500. And again, including all of the tuition, textbooks, fees, tools, equipment, materials, everything. So our application for the skills training programs, the ones that I just went over. So they need to submit an application form. Our application fee is $140 Canadian. We'll need to receive the official secondary and post-secondary transcripts. And then we need to receive the proof of English language proficiency, and IELTS is preferred. So for our postgraduate program, the GBM program is the IELTS score of 6.5 with no less than 6 in each module. And our undergraduate programs, an overall IELTS score of 6.5 with no less than 5 in each module. Okay, so when you receive that and the student is eligible, then they will be issued a letter of offer. And then at that point, students are required to confirm their acceptance at Parkland College with paying the tuition fee deposit that is mentioned in the letter of offer. And then once we receive that payment, the student will be issued their formal letter of acceptance. And then at that point, they can apply for their study permit. And we really recommend that students apply for their study permit as soon as possible, just to make sure that that does come in time for their studies and also for them to be able to travel. Students are required to have their study permit now before they begin classes. Last year, we did have to make the exception due to COVID-19 and the delays to allow students to begin without a study permit. That is no longer going to be the case moving forward. So all students starting for the fall of 2021 will need to have their study permit in place before they are able to begin their classes. All right, so now we'll move on to our university options. So students can choose from over 130 different classes, and we have partnerships with the University of Regina, the University of Saskatchewan, and Sask Polytech. More than 80 are usually face-to-face options, and then the other ones are either televised or online classes. Right now, with the COVID restrictions in place, the university programs are all online. There isn't necessarily the option to have face-to-face. We're hoping that that will change and that they will make that adjustment. But right now, just so you know, the university options are all online. So we have 2 types of program options at Parkland College, which are direct entry and non-direct entry programs. And I'll go into those a little bit more detail. And then for scholarships, just a note that if a student does apply to university at Parkland College, they are eligible for the scholarships at the university that they're studying or they're taking the classes at. So either the University of Regina, University of Saskatchewan, and also the Parkland College scholarships as well. So they kind of get to double up on the scholarships a little bit, which is a bit of a bonus. So we'll start with direct entry programs. These are the easiest admission process and very similar to our skills training applications. So if a student chooses a direct entry program, that means that they will submit their application for that program now, and they'll be accepted into the program, and they'll actually be able to start that program during their first year. Their international transcripts will be used for the admission to their program. And a couple of the options that we have for direct entry programs are the agribusiness diploma and the Bachelor of Arts in Sociology. So now we'll look at the non-direct entry programs. So non-direct entry programs, that means that they are applying into a pre-professional or a general first year. So that means that they'll need to come and do their pre-professional or general year first, and then complete the prerequisite classes for their professional program. The transcripts used for their professional application will be the year 1 marks from university, not the international transcripts. So I know that that can get a little bit confusing. So non-direct entry, applying into a general year. So it would be, as an example, the arts and science program, which has a certain entrance requirement. And then once the student completes that year, they will be applying into their professional program, like nursing or social work, and their university marks will be used to get into that professional program. So it's more of a 2-step process. And so it can be a little bit trickier. So the first year may take longer to complete as well, the general or the pre-professional term. It just depends on the prerequisite classes, and also depending on how many classes a student takes at once and how successful they are in that pre-professional year. A couple of the options we have are the Bachelor of Science in Nursing and the Bachelor of Social Work. So just a note about university applications. And so when you're applying into these programs, you are applying directly to the university, okay? So the application that you submit will not necessarily, or won't be at Parkland College. When you're accepted into the program, you're going to get the letter directly from the university. And then once you receive that acceptance letter, you need to contact us right away so that our university academic advisors can help set up your schedule and make sure that the classes you're taking are the ones at Parkland College. So again, just a little bit more, a couple extra steps, but still a really good option. And then so once, again, you have your acceptance letter, then that will be, you'll need to apply for the study visa. So scholarships, as I mentioned, we do have a couple of options here. Unfortunately, we don't have many options for entrance scholarships for international students. However, we do have more internal scholarships that are from December to January, and all of those scholarships are open to international students. Okay. All right, so job opportunities in Saskatchewan when you're studying at Parkland College. So part of the SINP program is that the hours you work during your studies will count towards the hours required for your SINP program. And so you're able to work a maximum of 20 hours per week during school time and up to 40 hours per week on study breaks. And then work after you study, the postgraduate work permit. So students will need to apply to a postgraduate work permit, and again, jobs available in retail, business, hospitality, professional services. And during this time, students are able to work again full-time at 40 hours per week. And just a couple notes about our SINP permanent residency program. So the graduate must, or the student must graduate from a minimum 1-year program at Parkland College. They need to work 960 hours in Saskatchewan. And again, all of the hours worked during their studies, that year of studies does count. They'll need to receive a job offer that is related to the studies after graduation, and then they can apply for their SINP for permanent residency. So just a couple notes about COVID-19, some of the updates and just some of the restrictions that are in place right now. And so just a reminder that Parkland College has had their COVID-19 readiness plan approved by the province of Saskatchewan and also IRCC. We were one of the first educational institutions to have their plan approved. And so we've been able to accept international students for a few months now already. So just a note about student preparation for traveling. As a reminder, students do need to have their approved study permits in place to begin classes for the fall of 2021. And then as soon as students receive approval of their study permit, they'll need to notify us so that our international counseling team can reach out and go over all of the steps in detail. They'll be notified of what they need to do to prepare for travel, what will happen when they reach the border, and what documents they need to provide. And then once a student has made their travel plans and we have the dates in place of when they'll be arriving, one-on-one virtual appointments are scheduled with our international counselors again to make arrangements for the 14-day quarantine period and to make sure that all of the questions that the students have are answered. So arrival in Canada. So this is just a note about the quarantine plan. I'm sure we're very familiar with this now, that it is mandatory to quarantine when students or when anybody is traveling internationally. They have to quarantine for 14 days. Parkland College has a plan in place and it is the most economical option available. And it also includes services that would not be available if students or if anybody quarantined anywhere else. And a note, Parkland College students are not allowed to create their own quarantine plan. They must follow the approved plan that we have in place, okay? So the quarantine period will take place in Regina, Saskatchewan at the University of Regina student residence. The approximate cost for accommodation and food is around $1,000 for the 14-day period. And services available include a private room, there's campus security, there's food delivery options, a healthcare provider will be on site, there's cleaning services, internet access, and also after hours check-in. So depending on when students are flying in, they don't have to worry about the office being closed. And then so the testing, they do need to have proof of a negative test before flying into Canada from within 72 hours of their travel. When they arrive in Canada, they're going to have to do another test and wait at the port of entry city until they receive their results. If they receive a negative result, they can continue to their destination of Regina and complete their 14-day quarantine. If they receive a positive result, they will need to stay at their port of entry city and quarantine there. So the port of entry cities are Vancouver, Calgary, Toronto, and Montreal. And so while waiting for their result, they'll need to stay at a government-approved hotel in one of these cities. The government is saying that the approximate cost could be up to $2,000. So just to make sure that students are prepared for that. And just a little tip is that the cost of hotels will vary by city, by the port of entry city. So take a look at the approved hotels and in each city, and then students can book their travel plans to fit around their hotel budget and which hotel they want to stay at. I know when I was looking, the Vancouver hotels were much more expensive than the Toronto hotels. So just to keep that in mind if students are needing to watch their budget a little bit. So once students are in their quarantine at around day 10, they will need to receive another, or they'll need to be tested again, and they will need to receive a negative test result before they can leave the quarantine area and travel to Yorkton, okay? And just a note about this, if students leave the quarantine area before receiving that negative result, if they receive a positive, they are not able to re-enter the student residence at the University of Regina to quarantine again. They will need to actually go to one of the, again, government-approved hotels, which is more costly, right? So it is a really good idea to make sure that they stay and wait for that negative result before they leave that quarantine area at the University of Regina and leave for Yorkton. And transportation to Yorkton from Regina is available, and we can help the students make that arrangement. We'll be in touch with them during that quarantine period and help them out with whatever they need there. And again, just a reminder, this is a basic overview of the current protocols. Things may look very different when students are ready to travel for fall classes, but our international counseling team we'll make sure that the students are provided with the most up-to-date information at the time of their travel. Okay, so just wanted to make sure that you know that this is just a basic overview of what's going on now, but it could absolutely change by the time students are traveling in the fall. All right, and so just a reminder, if you have any questions, you can always contact us, their email address or our website, and you can also follow us on social media. And yeah, we hope that your students will join us at Parkland College. Thank you all very much for listening and yeah, for all of your support.
Thank you so much, Anne. Great presentation. And we already have some questions in here. The first one is from Sandra, one of our agents in Colombia. And the question reads as follows. After finishing the diploma for the direct entry program at university, will students get into their first year or second year at university, any of the partner unis?
So is that about the agribusiness? Or is that just, yeah, for the agribusiness?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the agribusiness is one of the direct entry programs. So that one, when the student is applying right now, they will actually be able to apply directly into that program. And if they're accepted, they can start that program when they arrive on campus. The only thing to note with this program is that there's a very specific application window and it closes very early in the year. And so I believe the deadline is January for the fall intake. So there's a very long wait list and wait period for that program. Not a wait list, sorry, a wait time before the program starts from the time that the student is accepted into the program and by the time the student actually gets to start the program.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Laura, one of our agents in Mexico. For the non-direct entry programs, the study permit will be just for 1 year and then the study permit needs to be applied for an extension?
No, so when they apply for the study permit, they can apply for a degree. So that would be 4 years. It could also take longer depending on how many classes, but the standard full-time program is 4 years. So they can apply for a 4-year study permit at once. It just means that first year, they'll be taking general classes and they won't be in the specific professional program yet. So in that first year is arts and science or the pre-professional program. And then during that year, then they would need to apply just university, not at the government level or anything like that. This is just at the university level. They would need to submit that application into their professional year in order to be able to take the specific classes that are needed to complete that specific degree.
Excellent. This one from my end, and this is one of the questions that we get most frequently from some of our agents, and it's regarding pricing for the trades programs versus the business and health programs. Can you tell us as to why the trade programs are more expensive than the business and the health related programs?
Yes, so I don't set up the tuition for those programs. So my general understanding of the difference in cost is because of the facility that is required. Because we have the shop on site, we have all of the equipment, all of the tools are provided. That is the reason for the additional cost. For a business program, all that's required is a classroom, basically, right? So there aren't any, and textbooks, right? There aren't any additional costs that come into play when with the business programs or office, things like that. So that would be where the extra costs come in, from my understanding.
Thank you. Okay. Next question from Laura in Mexico. For the SINP, the candidate needs to have worked in the same job for a year at least, or could be a combination of different jobs to reach the 960 hours that is the minimum requirement for SINP.
Okay, so I would always recommend double checking the government website, but from my understanding, it can be a combination, but always double check the government website just to clarify that.
Great. Another one from Laura. How is it looking for this fall 2021? In-person classes or online classes?
So we are planning for, crossing our fingers, in-person classes. Right now, yes. Right now, we actually do have in-person classes. However, they are just limited, right? So it's more of a blend. So there's some in-class time and some at home time or tutorials to do at home. So right now we do have in-person classes, which is great, especially for our trades programs, which would not be able to happen completely online. You do need that hands-on training, you need that shop time to be able to complete those programs. And so, yes, we are planning face-to-face in-person classes there. Of course, adjustments may need to be made, but we're being optimistic, and that is the plan.
Okay, and following up on that question, this is from my end. Can you tell us about vaccination for international students? So say that they haven't been able to receive the shots because of the different stages and different sort of deployment levels in different countries around the world. So is this something that they will be able to access when they get to your turn after their quarantine and so forth?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. They will be eligible for the vaccine when they arrive here.
Excellent.
Within
That's
the time
amazing.
frame, yeah, of when it would fall into their range. But yes, they will be eligible.
Okay, great. Next question from Laura. Do you offer EAP programs or any type of English pathway program?
At this point, not yet. I know that conversations are, we're looking into it. But at this point, no, we don't have any of the English pathways available.
And another question that we get asked frequently is about Duolingo. Are we accepting Duolingo?
Yes, we are currently accepting Duolingo. For now, again, we understand that with COVID-19, it came into place because a lot of the language centers were closed. It may not be a forever decision, but we are currently accepting it right now for the fall of 2021.
Okay, great. Next question is from Laura. Could you talk a little bit more about the criteria to receive a scholarship?
Okay, so our scholarships mostly are based on academics. And as I mentioned, the internal scholarships are for this current students. So it will be based on their semester 1 marks for the academics. And then we also require them to submit a small essay paragraph just about their life and what's been going on and their situation. So the process isn't too in-depth, but there is a small application process that you need to follow.
Great. Another question that we get a lot is about the truck and transport program, heavy equipment truck and transport. Many of the students would like to know if afterwards they can pursue a career in truck driving, which they know is quite popular, is in high demand, and it's also quite lucrative, as we understand. And so can you tell us a little bit about if that is a progression that they can take as an outcome of their program, and if you know what sort of requirements are for that particular profession?
So it would be a good addition, I guess, if a student is wanting to, especially if they're wanting to be an entrepreneur and be doing that as their own business. To be able to maintain and fix your own equipment. Obviously, that is a huge perk to not have to pay somebody else to do that. However, in the program, we do not provide the training for driving, to be able to become a truck driver. We do not provide that training in this program. So it would be a good addition, but it would be in addition to, you would still need to complete the truck driver training in order to become that truck driver. Okay,
great. The other question is about the health insurance. We understand that the health insurance, the provincial health insurance, is included within the tuition fee. that the students pay. Sometimes as they would be traveling with family members, either their wives or husbands and children. Is this insurance also covering family members? And if it is, when that would be activated? Immediately after they arrive in Saskatchewan, once they start the program, how that works?
Right. So included in the tuition is only the students' insurance. So that's a very good question, and I'll make sure to follow up on that. I don't have the answer about family, I'm sorry, but that would be separate than what is included in the tuition and what's covered there. They would need to apply for their own student health, or not student health, their own health cards, provincial health cards, and get that insurance. But I'm not sure on the process with that, so I am sorry about that, but I would have to follow up on that.
Great, appreciate the update. And next question would be from Laura. Can you tell us the average cost of rent for a 1-bedroom apartment and 2-bedroom apartments in Yorkton?
It will vary depending on where it's located and things like that. I don't know the exact number. I would say between $500 and $1,000 would be per month. So, you know, the 2-bedroom would be more, right, closer to the 1,000. 1-bedroom would be a little bit less, but just to have that in mind for how much it would be. But on top of that, if it is an apartment, all that you would be paying in addition to that would be your power, which is usually only about $50 a month. So just not very much in addition to that. But you would need to, it would depend on the listing. Some places do include cable, some include internet, you know, things like that, that will adjust the price. So, sorry, I know. Yeah, I should get a little bit more detailed information on that, and I can pass that along to you. I will follow up with our counselors there.
Great, and thank you. Diana, do you have any other questions, or you have received through WhatsApp or Skype? Or do you have any on your own?
Yeah, thank you, David. Yeah, I have some questions about the cost of living. If you can tell us more about that, and also about the transportation facilities that you can have and the student can find in close to Parkland College.
Okay, so again, for cost of living, I would expect the housing to be about $500 to $1,000 per month, and then depending on what their lifestyle is like, for cable, phone, you know, food, things like that would be in addition. And then for transportation, we do have a bus service, although it is fairly limited. And so a lot of our students do arrange taxi services. And so that can be a lot more convenient. It can also be a little bit more expensive, but depending on convenience versus, you know, the expense, yeah, and how much time you have. So it just depends on what the student's preference would be there. We do have a lot of students who walk, who bike, especially in the nice weather. And in the winter, sometimes, you know, everybody gets very close. Our classes are very small, and so people are, you know, really good friends. And so they may even have, you know, if one person buys a car, then they'll carpool and everybody will travel together as well. So sometimes that will happen too.
Okay, I see. Thank you. And also I have another question about the job opportunities for the students. How are those opportunities for them? And what examples of jobs do you have?
Okay, so like I mentioned with the continuing care assistant program, lots of job opportunities coming there. Right now, there are a lot of jobs available. Again, with COVID-19, we've needed to increase our capacity, and they're also increasing the jobs. There's going to be 300 new jobs coming in the next 2 years. And so again, that is one area for sure. Office administration, because of the tie to the health region, that one is also very popular right now, and where we're needing people in the health region, in those office type of work environments. Because of our industry with agriculture, again, the heavy equipment, truck and transport is really big. Our agricultural technician program as well. And again, we found that power engineering is also seeming to be getting a little bit more popular as well. So really, we do try, like the point of the regional colleges is to meet the needs of the labor market. And so the programs that we offer are really tied to the labor market industry standard and what is available and what jobs are needed in our area. And so usually we're offering them for a reason because there is that need in the area.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And also, do you, Parkland College, offer any workshops for the students so they can be prepared in the way of the resume or work experience, I mean, for the interviews?
Right, yes. So our counseling team does have some of those services provided. Again, because it is a smaller community service, the students have access to our counselors for pretty much anything they need. If they have a question or if they have a job coming up and they are needing help, they can ask them pretty much any question and the counselors will assist them as much as possible with whatever's needed, if it's resumes or if it's job prep, things like that they would be able to help them provide resources and get them the supports that they need.
Yeah, or how to be prepared for the interviews, right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, they are all my questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Diana. Well, and thank you so much, Anne, for answering all of these questions. I think that has been the extent of them. We appreciate your time, and yeah, we're looking forward to having you as part of our webinar sessions next. Muchísimas gracias a nuestros agentes por sus preguntas, por el tiempo y por el interés. Así que ya con esto terminamos la sesión. Recuerden que si tienen preguntas adicionales o requieren una sesión específica, pueden contactar a Diana si están en Perú o a mí si están en el resto de América Latina. Así que nuevamente muchísimas gracias. Buen resto de día y nos vemos muy pronto. Thank you so much, Anne, and we will be seeing you very soon. Bye-bye.
Great, thank you all.
Thank you very much. Gracias.